A housewife in Missouri, Sharon Kinney lived a life that was anything but ordinary. Born Sharon Elizabeth Hall on a crisp November day in 1939, she was a native of the Show Me state. Her early years were uneventful, but the seeds of her later life were already being sown. At the tender age of 22, Sharon found herself walking down the aisle with James Kinney, a devout Mormon man. The couple soon welcomed 2 children into their world, but beneath the surface of this seemingly picture-perfect family, discontent was brewing. Sharon, the dutiful housewife, was far from happy. She felt trapped, confined by the 4 walls of her home, the endless cycle of chores, and the demands of raising 2 young children. Her dissatisfaction with her life was evident in her actions. She began to seek solace elsewhere, embarking on a series of extramarital affairs. These were not the actions of a happy woman, but rather a desperate one, seeking an escape from the monotony of her existence. And then there was the money. Oh, how Sharon loved to spend. She was known for her extravagant shopping sprees, her love for the finer things in life. This, of course, did not sit well with James. He suspected her of infidelity and expressed his desire for a divorce. Sharon, too, was eager to break free from the shackles of their marriage. But then, tragedy struck. James was found dead, a gunshot wound marking the end of his life. Sharon claimed it was a terrible accident, the result of their toddler playing with a gun. A simple, tragic accident, or so it seemed. But when James was found dead with a gunshot wound, Sharon's seemingly mundane life took a dark turn. The housewife from Missouri was about to become a central figure in one of the most intriguing true crime stories of the 20th century. Death came knocking at the Kinney household, not once but multiple times. The first to fall was James Kinney, Sharon's devoutly Mormon husband. The circumstances of his death were as tragic as they were suspicious. Sharon claimed that their toddler had accidentally discharged a gun, fatally wounding James. However, skeptics could not help but cast a wary eye on the grieving widow, especially when she came into a hefty life insurance payout of $230,000 shortly after his demise. The Grim Reaper didn't stop there. Soon after, Patricia Jones, the pregnant wife of Walter Jones, vanished without a trace. The connection between the 2 women was not just a coincidence. You see, Sharon and Walter were tangled in a secret affair, a fact that Sharon didn't shy away from. She even confessed to meeting Patricia on the day of her disappearance. When Patricia's body was eventually discovered, it bore the chilling signs of violence. She had been shot 4 times. The spotlight of suspicion once again swung back to Sharon. The authorities promptly arrested her, but a lack of concrete evidence saw her walk free. The charges of James's murder also hung over her head, but the trials were repeatedly postponed due to the birth of her second child. Despite the looming threat of conviction, Sharon displayed a chilling calm. She seemed to dance on the precipice of danger, always managing to evade the long arm of the law. But as the body count rose, so did the pressing questions. Was Sharon Kinney just an unfortunate woman caught in a series of tragic events? Or was she a master manipulator with a deadly touch? With 2 deaths tied to her, Sharon found herself in the crosshairs of justice. Her tale of death and deception was just beginning to unfold, and what came next would shock even the most hardened investigators. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the mysterious life and crimes of Sharon Kinney, one of America's most elusive fugitives. Despite the mounting evidence, Sharon Kinney proved a slippery suspect. Her life, which had taken a dark turn, was now in the hands of the justice system. Yet Sharon was not one to be underestimated. Her trials and tribulations were just as mysterious and convoluted as the crimes she was accused of. In January of 1962, Sharon found herself in the courtroom, charged with the murder of her husband, James. The jury found her guilty, sentencing her to life behind bars. It seemed as if justice had finally prevailed. But Sharon's story was far from over. She appealed against her conviction, stating that her lover, who she had allegedly asked to murder James for $1,000, had thought the request was a joke. This appeal resulted in her conviction being overturned. With the reversal of her conviction, Sharon's trials were far from over. She faced 2 more mistrials, each time managing to evade the grasp of justice. The court proceedings were further complicated by the birth of her second child. The trials were postponed, creating a window of opportunity for Sharon. In an unexpected turn of events, Sharon was released on bail. The woman who had been branded a killer, who had stood trial for the murder of her husband, was now free. The justice system had failed to hold her accountable, and Sharon was given a chance to start anew. But Sharon's story didn't end here. In fact, it was just the beginning. A new chapter was about to unfold, one filled with even more intrigue and mystery. Sharon Kinney, the woman who had escaped the clutches of justice not once, but multiple times, was about to prove that she was far from finished. The trials and tribulations were merely the prologue to her story. What came next would shock the world, cementing Sharon Kinney's place in the annals of America's most notorious criminals. Escaping her past, Sharon fled to Mexico, assuming a new identity. Under the pseudonym Jeanette Pugliese, she hoped to leave behind her life of crime and deception. But as fate would have it, the string of unfortunate events followed her across the border. In her new life, she blended into the local community, presenting herself as a foreign woman seeking a fresh start. But beneath the facade of normalcy, Sharon continued her reckless behavior. It wasn't long before she found herself in the midst of another violent encounter, this time with a man named Francisco. Francisco was a local, known and respected in his community. However, under circumstances that remain murky to this day, he crossed paths with Sharon. Their encounter ended with Francisco shot, and Sharon claiming self-defense. It was a chilling echo of her past, a past she thought she had left behind in a different country, under a different name. But the Mexican authorities were not as easily swayed. They arrested Sharon on charges of Francisco's murder, and during their investigation, they unearthed a shocking piece of evidence. The gun used in the shooting was the same weapon that had ended Patricia's life back in the United States. Despite this chilling revelation, the Mexican authorities couldn't charge Sharon for Patricia's murder. The evidence, while compelling, simply wasn't enough to build a case that would stand in court. But the gun and Sharon's violent past were enough to convict her for Francisco's murder. She was sentenced to 13 years in a Mexican prison, a far cry from the freedom she sought when she fled her home country. Yet again, Sharon found herself behind bars, but she had one more trick up her sleeve. The story of Sharon Kinney, the housewife turned fugitive, was far from over. Her ability to elude justice was as unnerving as it was inexplicable, and her next move would be her most daring yet. In 1969, Sharon Kinney vanished from her prison cell, becoming one of America's longest missing criminals. 4 years into her 13-year sentence in a Mexican prison, Kinney pulled off an audacious escape that would cement her reputation as one of America's most elusive fugitives. With a pending murder warrant against her, she stepped into the shadows, leaving behind a trail that would baffle investigators for decades to come. Her escape was as mysterious as it was daring. One moment she was there, locked behind bars, and the next she was gone, vanished into thin air. The prison guards were left baffled. Despite the high security measures, the so-called housewife from Missouri had managed to outsmart them all. Following her disappearance, an exhaustive manhunt was launched. From the dusty streets of Mexico to the bustling cities of the United States, authorities scoured every corner, every hideout, every possible lead. Yet the elusive Kinney remained one step ahead, her whereabouts a mystery that would confound even the most seasoned detectives. Over the years, sightings of Kinney trickled in from across the globe. A woman matching her description seen in a Greek cafe, a glance of a familiar face in a bustling Canadian market. But each lead only led to more questions, more dead ends. The woman who had once been a household name in Kansas City was now a ghost, a specter that haunted the annals of American crime history. Even today, the efforts to locate Kinney continue. The murder warrant against her remains active, a chilling reminder of the crimes she stands accused of. Every so often, her case is revisited, her story retold, in the hope that new information might come to light. Yet Sharon Kinney remains at large, her fate as elusive as the woman herself. Sharon Kinney's story remains one of America's most tantalizing unsolved mysteries. Will we ever uncover the truth? Only time will tell.